should let me love you forever, forever. I wanna love you. Will you let me love you forever, forever and a day, 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 day.
Hello, welcome TMW Online, the Melanated Way. We're back. I hope you guys had an amazing long weekend if you were celebrating that weekend. And we're covering all things the single life. We're wrapping it up. It is the tell-all part 2. And let me tell you something. I thoroughly enjoyed all the drama. I really did. And I felt like if we could just go a little bit deeper, it would be a perfect tell-all.
And yes, not only did we get a lot of good drama, but he wrapped up a couple of things that were loose ends.
100%. 100%. So good job, Ross. That's his name, right? Ross?
Yes.
Yeah,
Ross did a great job.
Yep. He asked some of the questions that we wanted to have asked, and he let it get a little bit messy. And I feel like this is one of the first tell-alls where the cast actually said what they felt rather than being like socially correct. And I appreciated that about it. So let's just jump right in. Liz and Jamal, they slept together. Liz didn't want to admit it. And Kimberly took it really, really personal. And she didn't know about it. She knew they hung out. She knew like they maybe made out, but she didn't know that they had slept together. And she took quite a huge, bigger offense than I actually thought. And I wanted to get your thoughts on it, Abby, because she's like, Liz, as my best 90-day friend, you should have come to me and told me directly from your mouth. Oh, these are my balloons, you guys. Making an appearance. You should have come to me and told me because you're my best friend in the 90-day franchise and we talk every day and you didn't tell me. And she's like, well, in my defense, Liz said that she thought that Kimberly knew. And so I guess you guys, I'm a little like weirded out by this because does it matter? Does it matter if your best friend sleeps with your child? You know, your grown adult child? And should your best friend tell you? What are your thoughts on that, Abby?
Okay, 2 thoughts. First thought, what Kim is freaking out about really has nothing to do with who Liz slept with or who Jamal slept with. She's afraid that something that she confided in Liz may have slipped and been told to Jamal, which tells me there are more things that Jamal doesn't know about this adoption situation that she hasn't revealed yet. Because what are you so worried that Liz is going to say to Jamal? What is it that you still are keeping a secret from Jamal? You know, that was my first thing, because she was like, well, I tell you my secret, so how do I know you haven't told him if you're sleeping with him? Because she automatically equates sleeping with someone to also having like emotional and verbal intimacy, you know? So, and then the second thought that I had is I simply don't think that you should be quote unquote best friends with someone who is that significantly flirty or flirtatious with your child in the first place. She's like, oh, I knew that they flirted. I know that they made out. How does that a best friend make?
Can you elaborate a little bit more? So,
well, I'm a parent, you know, and I'm always going to be a parent no matter how old my child is. And there's not ever going to be a time where I'm going to take someone on as my best friend that I depend on and I share things with. And I know that that person has had any sexual inclinations towards my child at any point in time ever.
I see what you're saying. But they were friends before. So, which is what Colt was saying was, did Liz use Kim to get to Jamal? And first of all, Colt shouldn't be saying anything about anything as far as I'm concerned. But that is the point that he did make, right? Because they were friends before Liz got with Jamal. So, I mean, I don't know.
And now we're not. And now, if that happened to me, oh, I was getting close to someone. First of all, I don't think I would ever be that that involved with somebody who's that much younger than me. But if I was, and then, I noticed that there is some flirtation happening with my son, then we're not friends anymore. For me, there's always going to be some demarcation in lines. I think it's one of those things where you've met friend groups before where everybody in the group has dated other people in the group. I don't exist in those kind of circles. I don't like that kind of world. I like demarcation. I like categorization. So I think it's an extension of that. For me, that's not going to happen.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Let us know what you guys think in the live chat. If you're watching the replay, answer that question. Would you be best friends with someone that was attracted to your adult child? That sounds so weird to say, but adult child. Shout out to the live chat, Chainbreaker, Pony Jacks, Raydella, welcome. So Kimberly goes on to ask Liz, did you sleep with Jamal pre the adoption news, which kind of goes into what Abby was saying about, did you also divulge any of my secrets? Because as my best friend, there are probably things I shared with you that I haven't shared with Jamal yet. So yeah, I thought that was a really weird, interesting dynamic. And then they bring Alec out. Now, what was your take on Alec and Liz and their relationship and engagement? Because here's what's going on. There's been some tension since Liz got back from the DR because she admits that she has a connection with Via. And it has created a little bit of an issue in her relationship with Alec. And Alec has asked her to unfollow Via on the socials. But when asked, are you happy with your choice to be with Alec? And not only just be with Alec, that's your future husband. You're engaged with this big 4-carat ring on your finger. She pauses, and it wasn't just a small pause, you guys. It was a huge, long pause. Then she says she's happy with her choices, but she misses Via. He was her best friend. And so I don't know. I don't have a lot of friends, you guys. I don't. As I get older, I see I have less and less friends. But what I will say is that I don't throw around best friend just willy-nilly. You were there for a week, and maybe you guys, continued to communicate while you were in your separate cities, but now he's a best friend. You miss him. You found a piece of yourself while you were with him. And you did love him. I'm sorry. I could not be the fiance sitting next door to you while you're saying all these things. Because to me, Abby, that sounded like she still has a whole lot of unresolved feelings for him. What were your thoughts?
My first thought was her and Alec must have discussed how this was going to go and the things that he might hear so that he would not be taken aback or be surprised by anything, which is great. My second thought, unfortunately, was that I just think the male ego is a little bit too fragile to handle Liz's honesty right now. I don't think it's wrong for her to say out loud how she's feeling, but I was worried, like, what's going to happen to his ego to hear this. But maybe he needed to hear it, because we heard her say earlier that he wasn't sure what kind of relationship he wanted with her. And so after hearing how she felt about Via and the fact that, okay, fine, you want to date other people, I'll date other people too. Maybe that's what he needed to hear, to be like, okay, let me get serious about her, because she's going to keep on dating other people and maybe find someone better than me.
Becca agrees with you in the live chat. She says, as a mother as well, no, it's weird. My son is 24 and have to check myself when I see young, hot men because I don't want to date my son's friends. Exactly. One of the things that I thought that I noticed in this tell-all as well is that I think Sophie is obsessed with Pedro. And she may act like she's moved on, but she's obsessed with him, because in this whole Liz, Alec, Via situation, she managed to make it about her and say she wishes Pedro was more like Alec because they could be in a relationship had he been more like him. And I laughed because one of the things I was disappointed about in this tell-all, you guys, is that she was not held accountable for her actions and how things played out with Pedro. And there were a lot of opportunities to hold her accountable. How she treated her friend Liz, how she treated her ride or die, Julia, and just how she was so male-centered. And I know there are a lot of women that are like that they only have self-value if they have male attention. And I understand there are a lot of people that are like that, but no, everyone else got called out on their BS, like literally everyone, but she didn't. And I thought that was quite disappointing because if it's going to be accountability, everyone should be held accountable.
Yeah, the only person who called her out was Colt, which is sad because nobody was going to take him seriously.
No, because who's going to take Colt seriously? But Liz and Alex say they're in a good place. They're talking about more kids, but they say that they're on a timeline because of her health and that she is eventually going to need to get a hysterectomy. And it just made me also think, because he wants to be a father. And I tell you guys all the time that when you're entering a long-term relationship, those are the questions that you have to have serious conversations about. And I'm telling you right now, if Alec wants to be a father, that's not going to change. It's not going to change. And so I guess my thoughts and the discussion I think should be, Liz is already dealing with her health. Does she even want to have another child, or does she want to have a child in order to make her fiance happy? Like, I don't know what that looks like, but that's going to be a serious conversation. Do you want to add anything to that, Abby?
I really don't even think it should be a conversation. I think that if Alec truly wants to be in a relationship with her and wants the best for her health, then that means that he's sacrificing his desire to be a father. Because how do you look at someone that you love who is already experiencing significant health challenges, and you want to put them in a situation where they A, have to put off a surgery that they need, and B, have to put themselves as close as people can get to death without dying, which is what happens during a pregnancy, and believe that's an okay condition to put them in while they're experiencing a health challenge. I think it is gross to even consider his desire to be a father in light of her health conditions.
Interesting. Okay. Liz is backstage. So they take a break. Liz is backstage and she's realizing that, you don't sleep with your best friend's son. And she doesn't want to lose her best friend over this. Now, I did think it was interesting that they didn't bring Jamal back to address all of this between Kimberly and Liz. I thought that was a missed opportunity, right? So if we're talking to Liz about how Kimberly is feeling about this situation, I think Jamal should have been there because he's the other party as well, to make it, equal across the board. And I do think it's not just about being attracted to your best friend's son. There's so much more going on there. And I think that they didn't bring Jamal back because maybe more tea was going to be spilled that was not, consumed yet. So Liz confronts Kim, or Kim confronts Liz, however you want to look at it, backstage. Kim says, I know you made out, didn't know you guys had sex. You should have come to me and tell me you slept with Jamal. But right now I can't process it, so we're just going to drop it. So I do think that this issue is going to come back again, Abby. I just don't know how it's going to come back. Becca says Kim was 100 that Liz should have come to her, also not just assuming. I mean, if it's your best friend, don't you tell your best friend everything? How did that not ever come up? It's weird. Okay, this is my favorite part. On to Gino. Gino ended things with Natalie. He's with Lexi now. When asked, are you and Lexi dating? He calls them quote unquote short meetings. which is such a Gino thing to say. They ask, does that mean you're friend zoned? He's like, well, no, there's a spark and a connection. And one of the things I cannot stand about Gino is that he talks around issues. Gino is also one of those people that does not accept responsibility for his actions. And it's to it. And I also thought, Abby, and you guys watching, I don't mean this in a mean way, but I do keep saying this, and I just think that Gino needs to get tested. I think he's like in such an older phase of his life right now that the diagnoses were not available to him in his younger years, but they're available now. And I think he should go get tested because it's like, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a therapist or whatever, but he has some like neurodivergent something. I can't put my finger on it, but his reactions and his responses are not normal to me, and normal for whatever you guys think is normal, but he doesn't accept responsibility. I feel like when people are talking to him, he's not hearing them. He's just thinking of what he's going to say next. So it doesn't connect. And so that's why anytime he's asked a question, he like wanders off and says just whatever he wants to say. It's weird. It's weird.
It may be a combination of some diagnosis and just low comprehension.
I mean, that too. He just might just be dumb. I mean, and that could be it. I might be making more of it than he's just not bright. I mean, it could just be that. Okay, so he's short meetings with Lexi. We find out that Lexi still lives with her baby daddy. When asked, are they together? He says yes, and then he like tries to backtrack and says, oh, I don't know, but they live together. Because, quote, she doesn't want to break up her family. Now, as soon as they said that, you guys, I think that Lexi is just Gino's friend. I don't think that they're dating. I think that Gino provides her monetarily somehow for her time, and she's milking it for what it is. Now, I can't remember what I was watching, but it was something. Basically, this lady was dating this dude, and oh, you know what? This is actually a real story, and it's not my story to tell. But anyways, there are couples that do that. There are couples that have conversations and say, hey, listen, there's this dude that's interested, and he wants to take me out and spend money, and they're cool with that. And I'm not saying that that's what Lexi's doing, but if she's not wanting to break up her family, then she's absolutely not dating Gino. And literally said no.
Right. I mean, she basically was like, I don't know what relationship I'm in with my ex. I'm just doing whatever.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. Everyone thinks that Gino breaking up with Natalie was a bad decision on his part. And they come after him, you guys. They say that he can't commit. And one of his problems is that he likes the attention that women give him. And so he thinks that he wants to see other women all the time, which is really not it. All he does, you guys, is that he's on social media. People see that he's on social media. So he has that little bit of a celebrity, right? The reality TV show celebrity. They slide into the DMs, that he gets that attention, and he thinks that he's like the business. And it's only because, oh, this pseudo celebrity is talking to you. That's what it is, Abby. But he thinks,
yeah, and I mean, it's probably bots too.
Yeah, and he thinks he's the business out of that, which he's not. So they talked about Natalie's daughter hating Gino and thinking he was a troll, disrespectful, and a loser. And the cast on the tell Gino, you really messed up by leaving Natalie. And when asked, why did you end things? Was it because you met Lexi, or was it because her daughter, Natalie's daughter, hated you? And he danced around the question. And then they were like, but did you meet Lexi while you're with Natalie? He pauses. He struggles with the answer, you guys. And then starts to talk to Lexi. Yes, he started to talk to Lexi when he was with Natalie. And here's the thing, he had a conversation with Natalie and they agreed that he would stop talking to other women. And he doesn't see anything wrong with it. He doesn't see that he's done anything wrong at all, even though the whole cast is showing him how his bad behavior makes him end up where he is. No accountability.
None.
So they're like, well, then that means you cheated on Natalie. And then he's like, no, I didn't cheat. I didn't cheat. We were just quote unquote friends. Listen, you guys, if you make a commitment to somebody, then you made a commitment to somebody. And whether it is an emotional bond, a physical bond, or a combination of those things, you're cheating because you made a commitment. That person has a specific expectation of you because you guys both committed to that expectation. So he tries to gaslight us and his fellow castmates by saying, well, no, Natalie and I are still really good friends. And then they cut to Between the Sheets where Natalie's like, no, I'm done. I'm done with Gino. He's a manipulator. He's a convincing liar. He allows you to feel sorry for himself. And one of the things that Courtney says is Colt's the exact same way. And I want to say yes. We've said this about Colt. Colt and Gino are two peas in a pod. They're like mirrors of each other in 20 years. Mirrors. They both have erectile dysfunction. I like how I started off with that. They both have erectile dysfunction. They're both liars. They're both manipulators. They both play victim. They're both cheaters. And they don't take responsibility for their role in their relationships. Same. So Natalie says all this stuff about Gino, and Gino's actually shocked and doesn't believe it because Gino, again, won't take responsibility or feedback on how other people see him.
Mm-hmm.
She also goes on to say that he's not a man of his word and he likes attention. And so she's absolutely done with him. And then the cast, after hearing that, try to talk to him, Abby, about his attitude and how he treats women. And he just refuses to hear them. He refuses to hear them. He's like, I don't treat women bad. I don't treat women bad.
And he still insists that they're friends despite what he just heard her say. So that's why I think like I maybe he is on the spectrum somewhere, but I also think that he has a severe comprehension issue.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not unusual for that to be happening. I think that the United States right now is just really suffering from a lack of comprehension among a significant portion of our population. Sincerely, like this, I see people receive new information or information all the time and be unable to process that information. They just like hard bank in their beliefs as opposed to taking in this new information.
That's really funny. And you're probably not wrong. So Kim goes off on Gino as well. And she's like, listen, you're over 50. You need to get your shit together because you treat women terribly. You play games with women. And she equates it to Usman and how Usman plays games with women as well. I do think Usman's situation is a little bit different than Gino and Colt. He's still equally terrible, but he's terrible in a different way. Then they bring up Jasmine. Okay. I love this part. Gino was not happy to see her at all. And he has some anger issues towards her. And Jasmine's like, yeah, Gino, again, everyone's telling you something. You should think about how you are being perceived by others. But she says that Gino needs to act his age and take accountability. When asked one word to describe him, she said pathetic. and that he treats women horribly. And all he responded was with anger. He had it showed you the other part of him. Like Gino tries to play like, "Doo-doo-doo. There's like only air up in my bald head." Like he tries to play that off, but that rage came out, and I sat back. I was like, "Oh, you guys have been separated a long time. She's got like 2 kids, and you're on 100 right now." So he responded with rage and said that Jasmine used him for a green card. You never intended to be with me, and he just freaked out, you guys. Now here's the thing. I don't know if he's forgetting, Abby, how he met her, but you met her on a sugar baby, sugar daddy site, and you had no sugar. So are you surprised it didn't last? Like, I'm confused. She came to you with specific intentions that she made clear. She wanted to be taken care of. If she was going to date this older, American guy, she wanted the money, she wanted the things, she wanted to be taken care of. And all of a sudden you didn't have it, and you had no sugar in any departments. You had no sugar financially, you had no sugar physically. What did you think was going to happen? I'm just confused, because she came to you exactly who she said she was going to be. What do you think, Abby?
This is the one thing that I wish Ross had followed up on a little bit more. When he's hollering, "You used me for a green card," I wish that Ross would have said, "Well, let's do some math." Maybe he doesn't have the information to be able to say this. Let's do some math. How long were you guys together? How long were you married? Well, they're still married, but how long were you married and living together? Like, mathematically, how could someone have used you if you were together for this amount of time?
Mm-hmm.
Because for someone to truly use you for a green card, they need to basically leave you after they receive that green card.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what happened in this case. Jasmine was with him for a significant amount of time afterwards. And there was never while there was clear inkling that she wanted his money, there was never any inkling that she was happy to be leaving Panama. The desperation that we see some people have to leave their home countries, Jasmine never possessed that. She was quite happy with her life in Panama, and she was happy with her life as a teacher until she lost her job because of Gino. Don't forget that. She lost her job because of Gino.
Yeah.
So I wish that Ross would have investigated that just a little bit, because I don't want anyone to have any more fuel to the fire of immigrants using U.S. citizens. You can't be used. You can't claim to have been used for what you advertised. So if a man is on a dating app and all he's advertising is, "I'm going to spend money on you, and here's all my cars and all of these pictures," you can't then turn around and say, "You used me for my money." That's what you advertised yourself for.
100%. 100%. And I did like how they brought this up, but I also do feel like they could have gone in depth a little bit more. Ross talks about Matilda, her daughter, and Jasmine explains that on the birth certificate, Matt, her husband, is listed as the father, but in Michigan, that's not enough. So they need to still do a DNA test. And then Gino says his lawyer is filing in Florida, and in Florida, it's just paperwork. So he's not going to have to get the DNA test. Now, Abby, I'm going to let you, as the attorney, elaborate. But my understanding from listening to Gino's lawyer was that they should file in both places, because even though they were married in Michigan, she lives in Florida now with that child. So they have to go by the 2 different separate states' rules. Is that correct? And let me know.
So when Gino said that he's agreeing to file in Florida, that means that he's agreeing to subject himself to the rules in Florida. He's agreeing to jurisdiction in Florida. Mm-hmm. So I would assume that they looked at property law in Michigan versus Florida to make sure that he wouldn't be at any kind of disadvantage. And then they decided, because Florida law is better for him on the paternity issue, to go ahead and file there. That means he's giving up his right to be governed by his home state, and he's going to be subject in all ways to the laws of Florida with respect to these divorce proceedings. So that's going to be with respect to his retirement accounts, with respect to his property. He's allowing Florida to dictate those things, which means that later on down the road, if there's a decision that comes out unfavorable to him, like let's just say that Florida requires him to pay alimony, and he says, well, Michigan would not have required that. He can't later on come back and challenge that because he's agreeing to jurisdiction in Florida.
Gotcha. They bring Lexi on, and she says that she has a connection with Gino, and she feels that the cast is ganging up on Gino, and it's inappropriate because his past relationships have been toxic. Lexi, I'm going to need you to go back and absolutely watch all Gino's seasons and then come back and see if you're going to say the same things, because I get what you're doing. He's providing something to you, whether it's monetary or whatever, or the little bit of 15 minutes of fame. There's something that he's providing that you like, and that's why you're agreeing with him. You don't want that gravy train to end. But Gino's toxic, and Gino is being ganged up on, quote unquote, because they're actually confronting him about his bad behavior, and he has not been confronted by his bad behavior, and people are tired of it. That's what's really going on. Lexi thinks he's sweet, respectful, and there's a spark. When asked, though, if she's in a relationship with her baby daddy, she pauses and says, to be honest, she's not sure. It's a murky area. When asked if she's in a relationship with Gino, she says no immediately. So this is what I thought was a great moment for women in general. Jasmine asked Lexi if she has daddy issues, and she couldn't say that she didn't. And Jasmine explained that she had daddy issues and had to like step back and work through why she was trying to be with Gino, and she was in a bad place in her life, right? And she'd lost her job, and she thought that she had to look a certain way, and she wanted specific things. But I think as she has started to do the work on herself and loving on herself, she realized, no, Gino provides all he fills all the insecurities. So he comes and says, oh, I'm going to be your Superman, and I'm going to save you. I'm going to rescue you. And then you're going to fangirl on him, which is what he needs, right? Because he has a little to no ego. Not ego, self-esteem. He has little to no self-esteem, and he gets it from women. He gets it from the adoration of women. And so that's why it works for him. So when Jasmine had that one-on-one with Lexi, I just thought it was great, and said, he lacks empathy and he craves only affection, and you could do so much better. I just thought she came from a real place. What were your thoughts?
I think that Jasmine was spot on, but I don't think that Lexi was hearing her. And to be honest, Lexi and Gino might work out because they both seem a little slow.
Well, and you're not wrong, because when asked if she would still pursue Gino, Lexi said yes. Becca has a question for attorney Abby. Does Gino also have to appear in Florida if he's having his divorce in Florida?
Most judges are starting to allow court over video. So I wouldn't be surprised if they just let him appear by video as opposed to flying down there and being in person.
Gotcha. They take a break. Everyone goes backstage. It's Kim, Jasmine, Liz, and Vanya They're all talking about Gino because they've all confronted him in some way on the tell-all. Jasmine explains how she realizes that they both contributed to their marriage not working out. And here's what's so interesting is that they're trying to explain how Jasmine and Natalie have been saying the same things about Gino. Kim saying the same things about Gino. Sophie saying the same things about Gino. And he's just not hearing them. And so he walks out and he's like ear hustling them and he's like not agreeing with them at all. And then Colt and Pedro walk by him and say, listen, get over yourself. Natalie hates you. I died of laughter because now even the guys are trying to say to you what the women have been trying to say to you this whole time, but he's still not hearing it. He's like, no, she likes me and we're still friends. And my note says, Gino can't take the truth. And then, do you responsibility for how Natalie and Jasmine feel about you was the question that was given to him by Kim. And he's like, no answer because he still believes that everyone loves him and he's a great person. Then Pedro says, you know, you pretend to be a good man, but you're not. So now the men are telling you, and he's still not hearing them, Abby.
He can't. His body, his nervous system cannot take it.
It tells me a lot about him, though, you guys, because if you can't take accountability for any of your actions and you think you're a perfect person, what does that say about you? Because when he was asked, what's one mistake that you've made? And he turns it on Jasmine. He says, marrying Jasmine. And my note says he won't admit any of his issues. And that's his problem. No one's perfect. And in order to grow and make change, you have to confront whatever those issues are. And you have to want to. And Gino doesn't want to. Do you want to add anything else about Gino before I move on to Courtney and Colt?
No, let's go on. Courtney, Colt, Philip.
Becca says, that's too bad about him not having to appear in Florida court because I feel like he would have had to take his hat off in court.
Yeah, he would.
Okay, when asked what's going on with Courtney and Colt, Courtney says that they're not friends. They're nothing. She's blocked him already. When asked if, are they exes? Are you not exes? She says they're half exes only because they only got to third base because Colt couldn't get it up. Ross asks how Colt feels about Philip and Courtney's relationship. Colt thinks that they're not a good couple, which is obviously what Colt would say, you guys. But Courtney's like, no, listen, we're great. We're going to travel together. We've already been flipping houses. So meaning that she's, investing with this older man. She's really securing the bag, you guys. And then they brought on Between the Sheets, Jess, one of his exes. And she explains how we can tell when Colt is lying. And what is Colt lying? All the time, because he lifts his eyebrows and they played a clip, and he touches his glasses and they played a clip. And he does it a lot because, she said, he's always lying. Facts. Courtney adds in, he also panics. So he gets all twitchy when he's lying, and he's always that way because, again, he's always lying. They bring out Philip, Courtney's fiance, and he loves everything about Courtney. And I've said this too. He feels like she's too loving and trusting of people, and she can be taken advantage of. Hence is what's happened with Colt, right? And I said on the top of our show that I feel like Sophie is obsessed with Pedro, like she hasn't let that go. I do think there's a little bit of something. Courtney doesn't want to let Colt go either, and I don't understand why, because ew. But there's something, because she does keeps inserting herself in Colt's life, And she also is like, oh, I blocked him, but then she reaches out to him. So, like, what is it? You know what I mean, Abby?
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing. Do you think that she's still trying to understand the rejection? Like, why didn't you want me? I'm so great. Why didn't you want me? Is that what she's still maybe reeling over?
I think so. It's hard to be rejected, right? And especially when she sees he's moved on with someone else, and that someone else is the person that
Hmm.
he cheated on. So I do think there's a little bit of that. Um, when asked about her fiance, what she loves about him, she said that she loves that he doesn't cheat, he's loyal, dependable, funny, generous, and smart. We find out that, well, I mean, I think we knew, but just to hear it verbally was like, oh, they have a 33-year age difference. When they met, he thought Courtney was 40 or 50, and she thought he was like 50. So they both thought they were the exact same age, and I died of laughter because, oh Lord, you guys, stop it. He has 4 grown kids, and he's also a grandpa, which now Courtney jokes that she's a grandma. And she posted recently on her social media that she was taking her grandkids to somewhere in Disney, which I thought was funny. They've discussed having kids, and I thought that this was really important for Courtney to talk about as well. And I thought that they should have dived in a little bit more, right? Because we need to talk about women not just having to like be childbearers if they don't want to be. And especially, I respect a woman that says, hey, you know what? I've never wanted to be a mom. Because you know what? If she became a mom, she'd be the worst mom for that child because she never wanted to have that child. So I don't understand what conversations. And so Courtney's like, yes, we talked about having children, but she's not sure if she wants them. And I think that it should be okay to say that without being shamed. Maybe she wants them, maybe she doesn't, but that's something that she's going to have to work through herself. And that's okay. Then this where I was like, Courtney, listen, girl, I have just such respect for you. Cause she comes across as like, just like, loving and kind of lightheaded, not airheaded, just like, easy.
A little she's a little oblivious sometimes.
Yes, but she's not, y'all. So when Colt is trying to accuse her of being a sugar baby and saying that he was paying for everything, she's like, absolutely not. She's been investing since she was 16 years old, quote, because she didn't want to have to depend on a man. And when you go back to earlier, when she's like, hey, we're traveling and flipping houses, I believe all of that about her. She's been securing her own bag since she was 16 years old, which totally makes sense now that we look at how she had to take care of Colt. Colt says that he paid for everything when he was with Courtney, and that's a lie. That's a lie. And he tried to talk about how he went to the dentist, and I guess she had like a $50 copay, and that's what he paid $50. And then he had the audacity to say that she didn't really do anything for him, although he stayed at the family house for free. He tried to say, well, you didn't do my laundry, your mom did. You didn't cook for me, your mom did.
That's me. That's me.
Elaborate.
Like, you can't say you didn't do it for me, your dad did, your mom did. That's me. Like, I get the credit for what my mom or my dad did.
Yeah, because I asked them to allow you to be in our house and to treat you with kindness. Have you lost your mind? Do you think that my parents would do all this stuff for some random hobo, lazy, non-working, non-walking, non-contributing loser if I didn't ask them to? Absolutely not.
No. Cole deserves every bad thing that ever happens to him from now into perpetuity.
100%. All the women at the tell-all said Colt is 100% ungrateful. And I second that motion. Then we find out that Philip and Courtney separated for a couple of months because of all the issues that Colt created in the relationship. And it was basically jealousy and trust issues. And this is why you have jealousy and trust issues, Courtney. So during the breakup, you reached out to Colt, invited him to your birthday in Mexico, said he could stay with you. And what? Like, the man cheated on you. He cheated on you. He went to the girl that he cheated, excuse me, on you with. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm choking because I'm so mad. You go cheater up, you take him to the hospital, and then you continue to be nice to him. And then now that you broke up with your good man, you call the loser back, and then you offer to have this low life who can't pay for anything stay in your room for free? For what? What does he bring to the table? He can't even knock it out because, you know, he's like this and it goes like this. Like, what are we doing?
Madness. Just madness.
That's the part I'm like, okay, so what's going on here? Because why are you inviting this drama and loser back into your life? For what? So Vanya says Colt is a terrible person. She uses different words, but I don't know if I can use that word on YouTube. And Sophie agrees. Sophie says, you know what, Courtney, he talked so much craziness about you in between the sheets, basically saying like you're desperate and you wanted to get back with him and you were inviting him to your place and all this stuff while you were broken up with Philip. And I believe that. I believe it. I didn't see it on Between the Sheets, but Colt is just like Gino and bigs himself up and needs the attention and thinks that women want him. You need to stop it, Courtney. You need to stop reaching out to Colt and really block him and call it a day.
Yep. Yep.
Philip, he's not threatened by Colt. And when asked why she continues to reach out to Colt, Courtney says she feels guilt and responsible for his injury. And Sophie says, you need to stop that. Colt's a great manipulator. He makes people feel bad for him, which is exactly what Gino does as well. You need to cut it out. And Kimberly jumps in and says the same thing. Says that's exactly what Jamal was saying about you earlier. You manipulate, you play victim, and then you try to make everyone feel for you so that it's all about you all the time. And you know, you're the one that cheated and you're a cheater and you've cheated in every. Do y'all realize that this guy has cheated on every single woman that he has been with? Every single relationship he cheated on. Every single one.
And he's been in the franchise for like 10 years.
And he's been on the franchise with what, 3 or 4 different, he's cheated on all of them. Larissa cheated. Jess cheated. Can't think of the wife's name. Cheated. Courtney cheated.
Vanessa
cheater. He cheats. That's what he does. He even said he doesn't know if he can't cheat. And lo and behold, the new girl, Diana in Brazil, guess what? She's being cheated on because Colt, we find out, is in Canada, staying in Canada. There was some Canadian girl that he was begging to sleep with. And now, from just like the broken translation that we're seeing, looks like Diana found out that he's actually staying with that girl in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
But he says they're just friends. Stop it. Stop it. So she thinks she's in a relationship with Colt, calls him her boyfriend, but she's having a hard time trusting him. Girl, run. And Courtney's like, you know, there are red flags in your relationship, and explains about the Canadian girl and the cheating and all of that. And Diana's like, well, I don't believe Courtney because Courtney's a liar. She messages me, which is again why I don't know, Abby, why Courtney is so involved in Colt's relationships. She messages his current girlfriend and tells her that he needs to break up with Colt, but then on the flip side, messages Colt and is saying, come and be with me in Mexico and spend my birthday. What were your thoughts on that, Abby?
Okay, like what Courtney's doing makes no sense, but that's no reason for Diana to persist in this relationship. You don't need to figure it out. You don't need to understand it. Just go ahead and exit, girl. Exit before you get even more entangled. And that's the main point. Like, you may not understand Courtney's motives. Everybody out there, that dude's baby mama contact you. You may not understand her motives, but you understand that he's not a good person for you. So get out.
That part. So one of the things that Diana did say was that she feels that Courtney and Colt have a secret, and I agree with that. I think that they're hiding something. I'm not sure what it is, but this back and forth that they're doing, something is not right, because at the end, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but at the end when Colt was leaving and then Courtney gets like, why are you getting up to console this fool? Why are you getting up to see what's happening in his relationship with his girlfriend on the phone? Why? You have your own fiance. Why do you care about that? If you're saying to us literally that you and Colt are nothing, then it should be nothing. And you should stop jumping through hoops to pacify him. I just don't get it. Liz is not impressed with Diana. She just says, you know what, you should just leave Colt. I mean, if you don't trust him and all that stuff, you should just leave Colt. Diana didn't like hearing that at all, and says, she sees that Colt is messaging people, but she is being told that those are old friends that I have and don't have to worry about it, but she's still worried. And I hate when women say this, you guys. She's staying because she loves him, though. What?
Do you think, Diana, this is my question for her would be, do you think that the way that you love him is any better or different than the way that he's been loved by all his women in the past who he also cheated on? Because I promise you it's not.
Excellent question. And it's not. And what do you love about him? Like, I'm honestly asking, what is he bringing to the table? What's he bringing to the table? He's not an excellent lover. He doesn't have any money. He's sluggish. He just started, walking on his own feet, and instead of having people push him around in a wheelchair because he was too lazy to walk around. What is it? He lies and he cheats. So what is it that you love about him?
I don't know. I do not know. Like, Diana is a situation that desperate. If it is, like, we can match make you.
100%. We'll match make.
I mean, at least, like, I can't promise you love, but at least resources.
I can't promise you love, but I can promise you that I won't give you a scrub that doesn't work and is lazy and is using you and lies to you. I can give you that. Big takeaway from Courtney and Colt. Courtney says, always trust your gut. And I laughed when someone said, you should have picked Usman. Because remember, she was choosing between Usman and Colt. Abby? Hello? Did I lose you?
I got stuck for a little bit. I'm back.
Okay. Do you want to add anything to Colt and Courtney?
No. Let's get into, I was waiting for Liz, Pedro, and Sophie to come back up.
All right. Sophie, Pedro, Julia, Liz. They show the clip where Liz didn't say anything that Pedro said that she said, and then how Sophie freaked out on Liz. And what Liz said completely got misconstrued by Pedro and his insecurities, right? Because he was feeling insecure about the woman that he was so in love with, and she wasn't giving him any attention, and she was backing away. So he used Liz as his segue to talk about all the insecurities that he was feeling, even though Liz didn't say this. Now, here's the thing that was so shitty. Sophie says she sees now that Liz said nothing wrong, and yet she didn't apologize. She didn't own up to her part in the freaking out because she said that she didn't attack Liz. But if you go back and watch the full clip, she literally was screaming in Liz's face, calling her a bunch of names. And to this day, at least on screen from what we've seen, she has not apologized, even though she saw for her own self and said, Sophie sees now that Liz said nothing wrong. So in all of that, we saw that Liz was like crying and freaking out, and she ended up calling Kim during that fight, and that's what happened that first night. Liz goes on to say that, you know, that first night and that fight wrecked the whole trip for her. And I agree with her because you know what? You're on a girls' trip and you have this big fight over a dude. How is that a girls' trip when you're putting a dude over a man? Like, how is that a girls' trip? But then we also know that Sophie is that type of girl where she's male centered. So she's gonna put a man first always. And that's why when Pedro said all that stuff that was not true that Liz said, that she believed Pedro and not her girlfriend. And I need you guys to stop doing that because guess what? Your girlfriends are there for life, especially if they're considered best friends. Your best friend is going to see you through some of the men that you've dated that you don't want to even claim anymore. They're going to pick you up in the heartbreak. They're going to pick you up with the lies. They're going to support you when that man cheats. They're going to support you when that man ghosts you. Believe your friend because men lie. Men lie and cheat. Not all men, but a lot of them. Men lie and men cheat. Your girlfriend, if she's your true girlfriend, she's not going to lie and cheat on you. So I was disappointed that again was an opportunity to allow Sophie to be confronted and held accountable for her role in kind of being a shitty girlfriend. You know, the only reason, in my opinion, that her and Julia get along so well is because Julia is already married and a mom, and Julia is not out here running game. So it can be all about Sophie and her men and how the men treat her and men, all of that, because, you know, she's already secured her man. But put her another single woman, all of a sudden you're not believing your other single woman friend, which is like crazy to me because a lot of single females are like that, and it's wild.
I also wanted Sophie to be confronted on her own comprehension issue because it went from Liz said she's in the beginning stages of the separation. She's still healing. That's what Liz said. What Pedro said was, well, Liz said, are you sure you want to be with her? You need to be careful about her. But what Sophie took from that and went back and said to Liz was, you're doing all this and she's not ready. She doesn't deserve it. I wanted Sophie to be confronted on her own conversation. Like what Pedro said wasn't right, but what Sophie said was far away from what Pedro said as well. So I wanted her, after they played that sequence and Pedro was able to say, I'm the problem. I misinterpreted what Liz said to Sophie. I wanted Sophie to also say, not only did I not give Liz an opportunity to speak, but I also misinterpreted what Pedro said.
And I'm sorry to my friend. All of those things should have been done. And then Liz went on to say how she didn't feel like this was like a true girls' trip because Sophie and Julia are really tight and she felt like a third wheel and she felt left out. I did see what she was saying because those two were really connected and they did not really include her in a lot. And so when she met Via, because she was not feeling included, she just attached herself to that because she's on a trip. She wants to go and do fun things. And Julia and Sophie were like, no, we just thought you wanted to be with Via. That's why we didn't invite you. But I dare say, like Kimberly said, if you're true friends, have a conversation. Listen, Abby and I rarely agree, but does a disagreement stop us from being friends? Because if that's the case, you guys, then you're not real friends because you have to be able to agree to disagree and hear each other out and communicate. If I'm feeling a certain type of way, I'm going to tell you. And it's not If I have a disagreement with someone today, I read this somewhere. If I have a disagreement with you at 11 o'clock and we have dinner plans at 6 o'clock, we're still going to dinner because I still love
Mhm.
you. You're my friend. We just had a disagreement.
Yeah.
Same thing with Liz and Sophie and Julia. If you guys would have sat down and had a conversation over coffee, ironed this out between the women, the trip would have gone a totally different way. However, you still have a girl that's super centered on men only. So I don't know how much different that part would have been. Do you want to add something
I
to that?
mean, Sophie's lying. They literally said out loud, we didn't invite Liz because we don't want her to be here, or I'm still mad at her. Like she said on different occasions where her and Julia were going to do stuff that they were excluding Liz on purpose. It was nothing about, oh, you're with Via.
That's right. That's right. Then we find out that Sophie is
Uh-oh.
dating
Am I
someone.
back?
You are here. I can hear you. We find out that Sophie is
Okay, I'm gonna leave
dating.
and come back.
We can hear you. Okay. I'll let her sort that. Abby is traveling.
Okay.
So thank you for being here during your travels. We find out that Sophie is dating someone, and his name is Jordan. He's a model, and he lives in Arizona. He's moving to LA to pursue his modeling career, and he's going to live with Sophie. What are your thoughts on that, Abby? I think it's crazy. I think she needs some time to be single. Be single. I get she's in her 20s. She wants to like date. But it seems to me it's more like relationship after relationship. So, I mean, teach their own. But to have this guy come and he's not only going to come and move to LA, but he's going to live with you. And you say for a month, but you know how that goes. 1 month becomes 6 months, becomes 1 year until y'all break up. What are your thoughts, Abby?
This is ridiculous. But you know what, Sophie, you've treated other people ridiculously, so I'm not gonna be too hurt if you get used and whatever.
You got to go work on yourself, girl. Who are you and what are you about? Because if you keep
She doesn't know.
She doesn't. That's sad. Because these men are going to come and go, and they're just going to come and go. Because if you don't know who you are, they're not going to know who you are. Okay, that is the end of the tell-all. They're backstage. Colt calls his girlfriend, Deanna. She keeps hanging up on him. She's crying because she feels like she found out evidence of his cheating in Canada. And Colt gets all like in his feelings because, you know, he freaked out on stage because everyone was confronting him. And, you know, when you have incel behavior, you don't want to be confronted, right? It's easy to be an incel and try to manipulate women one-on-one, or even, I dare say, online. But when you have men and women confronting you on your bullshit incel red pill, blue pill behavior, then all of a sudden you can't take it. And now everyone's ganging up on you and you want to leave because you don't want to be held accountable because, quote, he says, no one here likes me. Colt, people don't like you because you lie and you cheat. You manipulate. So instead of thinking that those people don't like you, how about think about what they've said to you and how you can make the changes so that you're not a liar, you're not a manipulator, you're not a user, that you have gratitude and you are productive. Think about the things that you can do to move your life forward for yourself.
Yeah. Also, just study history a little bit because saying you were attacked like Abraham Lincoln was really wild.
Deanna calls Colt back, calls him a liar, tells him to leave her alone, and she has like a little tete-a-tete with Pedro because Pedro comes over and, you know, tries to say, oh, that's Colt in the past and he's trying to be a better person. No, he's not, Pedro. No, he's not.
You know, I thought it was hilarious how Pedro was on the phone with Deanna And then he turns to Colt and says, see how your past life affects your future life.
And then Courtney and Vanya come up, and Courtney again tries to get involved in Colt's life. And this is when I was telling you, like, Courtney, I mean, you're sending mixed signals. You're saying you're done with him, but you keep inserting yourself in his life. And he even says that, like, you keep inserting yourself in your life. Why don't you just go and be with your fiance and call it a day? And that's the only thing that Colt said this whole tell-all that I agree with. Go and be with your fiance and stop messing around with Colt. That's it. That's all I got.
I have one last thing. Kim goes out saying, I don't care what Wayne says, we're in a relationship. This is the same woman who tried to convince us that she didn't care about titles. And I just want us to put a pin in that. Just note that. Let's just put a pin on that.
Copy. We will put a pin on that. You guys, thank you so much for joining us this whole season of 90 Day, The Single Life, season 5, wrapped up with the tell-all. Definitely, if you're watching the replay, let us know your thoughts on the season, at the very least, the finale. And we'll get back to you. Abby, enjoy the rest of your trip. And you guys will see you shortly. Bye.
Bye-bye.